Well, last summer on our farm, we saw a disease in corn we had never seen before, at least on our farm, and that was Goss's Wilt.
Well, I was thinking we were in the safest spot here, Brian, and when we're talking about Goss's Wilt, we're standing by a soybean field.
Yep.
We don't have to worry about it out here, but maybe you do. And here's what I'm talking about with Goss's Wilt. Let's say that we had some in the corn that was in this field last year. Now we've got soybeans out here. There could still be some of that inoculum for that disease left in that residue where, you know, if you don't rotate away from corn, you're going to bring some more of that disease back into your field.
Okay, so we just got done talking about strip till a little bit ago, and now we're telling you, hey, you should do a bunch of tillage and you should rotate away from corn.
Well, we said we'd talk about the pros and cons, so why not?
Well, the trouble with Goss's Wilt is it's not a fungus. It's not something you can control with a fungicide like Headline. It's a bacterial disease, and there is no control for it. So when you see it out there, what do you do, Darren?
Well, you know, this is one of the big things. Everybody wants this simple fix that, oh, okay, I've got this problem. Tell me what product I need to spray. I'll go spray it and it's gone. Well, no. You know, there isn't always going to be an answer like that. Sometimes you have to change cultural practices. Sometimes you have to change the hybrids you're planting, whatever the case may be. And I'll start with hybrid selection. When you've got Goss's Wilt, there are certain hybrids that are more tolerant to it than others. I'm not saying resistant to it yet, but believe me, the breeders are working on this. But when we've got more tolerant hybrids, that's important. For example, on a field of corn that I've got, I switched hybrids completely. Last year, I had a totally different family than what I'm planting this year because we had a little bit of Goss's Wilt last year. We had an extensive plot and we saw certain varieties just didn't see hardly any Gosses at all. And I thought, well, why not plant one of those varieties? So that's what I'm doing this year.
Yeah, so in other words, Darren wants to raise corn on corn. I'm raising some corn on corn too. If you're gonna do that, you can probably get away with it, but you've got to be real fussy on what you do pick for varieties. And the reason why we're talking about this today is quite commonly late in the summer, you see a problem out in the field and you figure, well, it's too late to do anything anyway. I don't really care what the problem is. I'll just hope for the best next year. Well, you can't do that. If you go out to your field and you see some issues out there, find out what it is. Send some leaf samples into the lab. If you have Goss's Wilt, you need to switch varieties going into next year when you're planting corn and pick something that has at least more tolerance or more, hopefully, resistance to Goss's Wilt.
Well, if you haven't seen Goss's Wilt, it is a problem that's spreading further north and west in our country, and it's something that's been an issue in certain areas of the country for many years. So a lot of guys are familiar with it, but you know what? When it comes further north into the Corn Belt, we don't really know what the tolerance is on some of these 80-day hybrids or even 90-day corn hybrids until just the last year or so when we've seen it on some of them. So you do need to be a little bit cautious and do some of the preventative measures. The other thing is you need to learn how to scout for Goss's Wilt. It's a disease that typically shows up on the upper leaves of the plant. It looks like some water-soaked lesions where a good portion of the leaf looks water-soaked. You also see some speckles on there too. And remember, it's a bacterial disease, so it's a little different than other diseases you may face.
Well, when you're out scouting your corn for Goss's Wilt, you might see our Weed of the Week. We'll tell you how to stop it on your farm coming up next.